What up, guys? It's Chris with Barbeque. Well, it happened again. I was once again challenged to do a cooking video. This time, it came from Red's Barbecue and Pizzeria. Now, I don't know what's going to be worse with this challenge, making it or the after effects of eating it, because this is the magical fruit challenge. Now, some call it the musical fruit. We'll just go with magical around here, because everything I make is magical, right? So what we're going to be doing is doing a little spin on Boston baked beans. That's the core of this recipe, but I've used some twists and turns in it, and I've made it Arizona baked beans. So I'll show you why I call it Arizona baked beans as we progress through the recipe. The first thing we're going to need to do for this recipe is get some beans. Now I'm using navy beans, but you can use pinto or whatever beans you like. Basically, you just want a pound of beans and soak it overnight in some water. When you're soaking your beans, use about 1 tablespoon of salt per quart of water. I'm using about 2 quarts, so I put 2 tablespoons of salt in there. Basically, the salt, there's some scientific mumbo jumbo that goes into it. Basically, the salt allows the outer side of the bean to break down as fast as the inside it does. If you don't use the salt, the beans take in more water during the soak, and they actually start to fall apart during their cook. Again, look it up. That's science stuff. I just want to cook. Let's get started. Our beans have been soaking overnight for about 8 hours or so. Now the next step to this is bring them to a boil and cook them. So to our boil water, we're actually going to be adding some things that makes it the Arizona baked beans. First thing we're going to be adding to the boil is a ham hock. Basically, this is just part of a pig's foot. Has skin, has collagen, has some meat, and as it boils and cooks, it's just going to render down and add flavor. Also to our boil water, we're adding, I'm adding 2 habaneros. The recipe only called for 1, but this other one was kind of small, so I just want to bump up the heat a little bit. And 2 jalapenos. Now these have been halved and seeded. You do not want the seeds of these things getting in here, because we're going to strain this water out after we're done with the boil, and these things are not going to continue on. Now you don't want the seeds part of this overall cook, because that would make it even more spicy than what we're planning. So add all these in, and then we're going to top it off with water. Now you only want enough water in here that it covers the beans about 1 to 2 inches. Because while we cook it, we're going to be adding hot water as needed, but add hot water. You don't want to add cold water, or else it just increase your cook time. Alright, so we have our water in here, and again, you only want it about 1 inch or so above the beans, like that. It's perfect. So as these boil, all the juices from the peppers and all the collagens and breakdown of the ham hock is going to soak into the beans as they take in the water and cook. And there's no real set time for this. It's going to be about 45 minutes to an hour. Really what you're looking for is those beans to puff up and get tender. You'll know it's ready when you can pick up a bean and squish it, and it starts breaking apart. Alright, so you can see how the water has been reduced. The water's evaporating as well as being absorbed in the beans, so we are going to need to add water if these beans aren't ready. And just moving around, you can feel it there. They're still kind of not as tender as they need to be, but you can always just grab one, do a squish test. Hot. Not quite ready yet. They're almost ready, but the insides still use some time. So these have been on for about 45 minutes now. Feeling them, they're not as tender as I want them to be, so I'm going to add just a little bit more water. Go about 10 minutes or so. You can see how that ham hock has started to pull back from the bone. That's when you know it's starting to break down and get some flavor in there. Alright, it's been about 10 more minutes, so total time of about 55 minutes. Okay, so I can feel that they're a little more tender, but just like with rice or pasta, you can just kind of pick one out, taste it. Oh yeah, they're tender. And there's some good flavor to it. It's not hot, there's good flavor. Cool, alright. So now next step. Now we're going to build our sauce for the beans. So over some high heat, I'm going to bring to a boil a 1/2 cup of water, 1/3 cup of molasses, 1 tablespoon each of Worcestershire and apple cider vinegar, 1/3 cup brown sugar, 2 teaspoons salt, 1 teaspoon cumin, half a teaspoon of paprika, 1/4 teaspoon each of black pepper, brown mustard, and ground cloves. And last bit is 6 ounces of tomato paste. Okay, get this stirred together, and we're just going to bring it to a boil, no more. Okay, now that that's all ready, what you want to do is you want to strain your beans. I just have a pot here with a colander inside of it because you want to reserve your bean juice, we'll call it. Okay, now dump this inside your cooking dish, and we're actually going to pull out the peppers. We're not going to use those, but we're going to put them back in the water. Now, obviously you want to use tongs or glove or something because these peppers are going to be potent, so don't touch anything. So we're taking the peppers out, but we're going to leave the ham hock in. It's going to stay in there while we cook. There it is. That was a missing piece. Alright, there. No more pieces of peppers. And we're going to add in some other things. First thing we're going to add is we're going to add 1 whole white onion diced and 2 Poblano peppers diced. And on top of the ham hock, we're going to put in a 1/2 pound of bacon, chopped up. And now spoon over our sauce we just made up. I'll mix it all together. Okay, now that all that's mixed, what you want to do now is you want to gradually add in some of your bean water in here because you want the water to just cover the beans because they're still going to cook a bit, and this is going to reduce down and it's going to thicken. Now obviously I'm being careful not to grab any of the peppers or anything else. See where we're at. And work it in a little bit, see what it looks like. Alright, so you want it to completely cover the beans. Just need a little bit more. Alright, there we go, that's better. Fill to the top. So, there's wives' tales out there and just studies that the bean water that you reserve from your boil is what makes these things magical. But that's also where all the flavor is. Not only is it the bean flavor, but also it's the flavors we're getting from the peppers and the heat, which is what's making it the Arizona baked beans. So we want that juice, that water. So, all right. Now we're going to cover this in foil, and we're going to get it outside to cook. Alright, so now it's where the Arizona baked beans really gets its name. If you thought it was because of the peppers we were using, you're wrong. It's this right here. So most baked beans take about 3 to 4 hours, either in the oven or on a cooker. Today, we're going to be using the Arizona Phoenix Sun. And it's only going to take about ½ hour at most. And the reason is the foil. If you didn't notice how I was doing the foil inside, the foil has 2 different sides, a shiny side and a dull side. When you're wrapping the tin, make sure the shiny side is down so you catch all that heat. As far as the foil on the outside, we're gonna have the shiny side out. This is gonna help catch all that sun, and it's gonna direct it into the dish. Now luckily my house has a southward facing edge, so it's gonna catch the sun for the next ½ hour or so. So See you in a half hour where we're gonna have Arizona baked beans. Just kidding. Ha. We're actually gonna be smoking them today. Of course we're gonna smoke them, right? So I got my Green Mountain set at 250. So on the top rack where I'm gonna put the beans, it's gonna range anywhere from 225 to 250. Let's take a look. So this is where we're at. So we're gonna leave them here for about 3 to 4 hours. Again, I have that water with the peppers in reserve because as the water goes down, if you want to add a little bit more, you can use that instead of just plain water. Or I guess you could also use either beef broth or chicken broth, whatever you want. But I'm going to use that water if needed. So I'm going to check it out every half hour or so, stir around, see what the liquid is like, check the smoke. Really what we're looking for is the baked bean consistency with the sauce. Alright, so we'll let this thing rest and do its thing. Alright guys, I just wanted to give you an update before I lose too much light out here. This cook is going good. So we're about an hour and 20 minutes in. I'm not going to be adding any liquid. All this is just going to reduce down and get thicker. So it's looking good. This ham hock is looking delicious by itself, but obviously not going to be using it for eating. But I have been flipping it just so as the smoke hits, you can flip it over and it'll seep down into the juices. And man, it's just going to take time. This can probably be 3 to 4 hours until this is a good consistency. It's still way too loose. Again, we're running anywhere between 250 and 300. Also because of the size of the cooker, I've been rotating the dish every half hour or so. So on this side, we're running about 250. Over here, it's about 225. So that's right in the zone we want to be in. So, all right, guys, just let this go for about 3 or 4 hours, and I'll show you what it looks like in the end. All right, guys, this came just off the pit, and it's looking fantastic. The consistency is right. See how that juice is reduced down, that classic baked beans look. All the peppers and onions and bacons cooked down. You can see this ham hock is giving up every bit of flavor that it could. Man, just the smell of this alone is making me hungry all over again. Just look at all the peppers in there. All right, well, as much as I want to, I'm gonna let this thing cool down a little bit more, and we'll give it a taste test. Give this a try. Oh, the very first thing I smell is that smoke and pork, obviously. Yeah, it's that classic baked beans taste, and then at the end it has that heat of all the peppers, but it's not overpowering. It's just a nice subtle heat, and the poblanos isn't adding any heat. Those are kind of a mild flavor. It's the water we did the boil in with the jalapenos and the habanero. Even though we actually didn't use them for the full cook, just that boil with the beans soaking in the water was enough to give that nice subtle heat. The onions and peppers still have a slight bite to them, but very tender, and it just has that barbecue smoke essence to it, and that heat is still there. It's not building on itself, it's just always there in the back. It's a beautiful flavor. Alright, Red, well, I hope I did you proud, man. Thanks for the challenge. More than just challenging me, thank you for helping me think outside the box, because like I said before, I haven't made baked beans before, but I want to make sure that I'm bringing the Arizona flavor to everything I do. So, hey guys, if you haven't checked out his channel, please check out Red's channel. I'll put his link up above. Go see what he's got going on. He has tons of stuff going, as well as trying to build a restaurant. So please go check him out. If you like this recipe, please give me a like. If you like what I'm doing, just subscribe and hit that little bell notification so you know exactly when I post things. Other than that, guys, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you're gonna make your own baked beans, let me know what you would add to it to make it your own. All right, guys, and as always, keep on grilling.